Hello, welcome to another edition of Dr. Theatre's Cult Emporium. And today we are going to be discussing the recently aired Doctor Who Flux Chapter 1, The Halloween Apocalypse, which aired last night in the UK and all over the world. And we didn't know this when we started this endeavour of reviewing each episode, but it is incredibly serialized. So there's a lot of threads that have been put out there, and they're all dangling. So we'll try our best to sort of give our general thoughts about how we're feeling about this first episode. What did you think, Rob?
Well, it kind of was. I was going to say a mindfuck, but you can't say that on this. With all these different threads coming in, I'm okay. Oh my God, where are we going now? Where are we going? Very, very fast paced, wasn't it? And I was just trying to keep up with where we were going. But of course, we don't know where we're going. That all these things are happening, and we don't know how they're interconnected at the moment. Which is one of the things that the next 5 weeks are going to unravel, I presume. But if we take a look at the major players. We have, of course, the Swarm himself, who kind of regenerated earlier on. If that's he called it a renewal, didn't he? A renewal, yeah. And he's obviously the arch villain of the piece.
And then later on, he of course goes to retrieve his sister, and that seems to be, and she's in human form and doesn't seem to have any memory. That seems to be like chameleon arch technology, which we saw was used in Fugitive of the Jadoon. So one wonders if that's something to do with how one hides from the division. Is you have to erase your own memory or suppress your own memories.
And harking back to the pre-Gallifrey Time Lord or whatever we're calling that. Maybe, because he's been in prison for a long time, hasn't he? That's the basics of the Swarm's story, and it's as I say, his sister Azure. Whether she's just as nasty as he is, then I think we're going to find out next week, or at least at some point, because we don't quite know what she's about yet, do we? And then there's Dan Lewis, of course, who's the big entry into the series. A replacement for Graham, should we say that, or is that doing him a disservice?
I think they're definitely of a similar ilk, and the way that he is going to fit into that dynamic between the Doctor and Yaz as the sort of the slightly older, reluctant traveller who's kind of up for it, but a little bit slower on the uptake maybe. I think that's fair, and I thought it was quite precise the way that he was written. You got to know him very quickly. I think you can definitely say he's from Liverpool.
Oh, I must have missed that.
Yeah, and he's obviously generous and warm-hearted. We see that he volunteers in a food bank. Can't believe that Chibnall was allowed to get away with that, but I'm glad that he was. And
I don't think food banks are too political now, are they? I mean, they're fact of life, dear. Fact of life.
Yeah, I don't know. I just some of the right-wing press are still trying to deny that fact, but never mind. We'll move on. And also he's got a bit of a love interest, or there's what was the character's name?
Diane,
who we thought was just going to be a blink and you'll miss it supporting character to set up Dan, but then at the end she's lured into this house, isn't she, by Azure?
Yep, absolutely. So that is a thread that is obviously going to be explored, if not next week, then certainly in a forthcoming episode. And looking at, we also had Claire, didn't we, who turns up claiming to know the Doctor. And she says, of course, I must seem like a loony because, you won't know who I am yet. So that's going to be obviously a timey-wimey thing. And she knows all about the Weeping Angels. That's the thing. She knows all about the Weeping Angels. She knows not to blink. So, there are...
although the silly cow does end up blinking anyway.
Have you ever tried not to blink for any length of time? It is very, very difficult.
I don't know. I think I would be so terrified knowing my whole life hung in the balance. I would hope that I'd managed to be able to pull it off. But...
Oh, that's what you say to me. I don't believe it. So there's Diane. Then we've got and Claire. Then we've got the historical character of Joseph Williamson, a philanthropist from the Victorian era, and he was quite an eccentric man. I've Googled him and read a bit about him, and he had all sorts of people doing all sorts of eccentric projects because he was quite rich. One of which was building tunnels in an area of Liverpool, and nobody quite knows why he wanted these tunnels built, but obviously this is going to work in at some point into the future storyline. There's going to be some theory as to why he's building tunnels.
Yeah, and it's a nice bit of using real history and then sprinkling some Doctor Who nonsense on it, which I really like whenever the program does that, sort of fitting it into with real history. Having
said that, I would really love a genuinely historical episode where there's no aliens come and we have to deal with all that side of thing. I'd love a totally historical story. I don't think they're brave enough to kind of do that now. There's always got to be a science fiction element to it. But I'd love the Doctor and his companions to be plonked in the middle of some era of Earth's history and to have none of that going on, but still to have an adventure.
Well, you're not going to get that with Flux.
No, we're not. No. And then the other major character is Instant v. Vinda upon observation outpost Rose. So do we think he's there of his own volition? Because he seemed a bit pissed off to me.
It seemed like, I want to know why he's on there. It seemed like he might have been a naughty boy at some point and has been there to be punished. So that'd be interesting to find out that. And also, of course, the name of the outpost. Now, Chris Chibnall knows what he's doing, calling it that. So it'll be interesting to see whether it is just a wink or whether that title, whether there's some timey-wimey nonsense goes, or or whether it is just a little cheeky wink to the fans. Who knows?
And there has been a lot of speculation online that his character has got a very heavy Time Lord connection. They've been looking at all sorts of clues to the character and stuff, and I think the actor said something at a convention that could be interpreted a certain way. So, very interested to see how his character turns out. So, it's all to play for in Flux, isn't it? That there are so many threads that have been chucked into that first episode, and whether the next 5 episodes will choose one of those threads to unravel, or whether they will all be in, one episode.
I mean, it may be that there is going to be a Terror of the Vervoids type story, which you can probably watch out of context, or it may be that whenever we go back to watch, because how Doctor Who fans like to go back and watch particular stories, we may end up having to commit to watch all 6 episodes, or it won't make any sense. So, it'll be interesting to see what the form is going forward.
Well, it certainly hit the ground running, and there's been a lot of very favourable comment online. We're used to Jodie's era being kind of targeted all the time by the vocal minority, but I've read lots of very, very favourable reactions to it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the same. I think people are cautiously optimistic. It's just that question of whether Chibnall can stick the landing with this, because it's a lot easier to set up the dominoes. It's much harder to knock them down. So we'll see. So I'm cautiously optimistic, and I think that seems to be the overriding theme online, really.
Yes, well done, Chibbers. You've got us off to a good start, and we're very much liking what we're seeing, and we'll be there glued next Sunday to take in the next instalment. So, moving on a little bit in Doctor Who world, what I wanted to do, because I know you don't listen to the audios, but I do in my insomnia phase at 2:00 in the morning, when I can't make any noise. I put the audios on my MP3 player, and
because Nicholas Briggs sends you to sleep.
Yeah, not as much as some people do, but I won't go there. But we've got a big return this month from Big Finish to the Third Doctor era. And the first of these releases is the Third Doctor Adventures Volume 8, which, of course, stars Tim Treloar as the Third Doctor. Now, I know some fans won't engage with a recasting of a Doctor. And I'm not one of those people, because, if you're going to go down that, you could say, well, the comic strips are not John Pertwee, why would we engage with that? It's the same thing in my mind. And Tim Treloar does such a great Third Doctor, Pertwee-esque Third Doctor. There's no reason, I think, why we shouldn't do these things. And he's joined by good old Katie Manning as Jo Grant, and John Culshaw as the Brigadier. Culshaw, obviously brilliant at voices, and his Brigadier is no different. If somebody hadn't pointed out that it wasn't Nicholas Courtney, you could easily just sit there and listen and think it was Courtney himself. And on this release, we've got another companion in Sadie Miller playing Sarah Jane Smith. Sadie Miller, of course, being Liz Sladen's daughter. And we've got two full stories. We've got Conspiracy in Space, which finds us on Draconia at a turning point between the Earth-Draconian wars. And that's kind of almost like a political thriller, really. And then we go to Devon in the 1855 and explore an old folklore called the Devil's Hoofprints. Apparently, one night in this area of Devon, they woke up and there were hoofprints all over the ground and all over the roofs of the buildings and things like that. And it was totally unexplained. Well, this audio goes towards giving us a Doctor Who-esque explanation of what happened over that period. So, yeah, I mean, fabulous release and really good scripts from Alan Barnes and Robert Valentine. But not only do we have that this month from Big Finish, we also have the Diary of River Song Volume 9, New Recruit. And it's called New Recruit because the Third Doctor has gone off on a little sabbatical. And in his absence comes in Dr. River Song, played by Alex Kingston, of course. And she is Unit's new scientific advisor. And again, we've got a former companion in Liz Shaw, played by the daughter of Caroline John, Daisy Ashford. And she, like Sadie Miller, sounds exactly like her mother. And you kind of forget, after 5 minutes, you forget that you're not listening to Caroline John herself. And there's 4 stories in that, which take place with Alex Kingston at River Song leading the way as the scientific advisor. But in the final one, the Third Doctor does return to Unit and is aghast to find this upstart in his TARDIS and messing about with his laboratory. And that leads to a clash, as you can imagine. And of course, we have to cover the ground where that the Third Doctor cannot know about River Song. So that's covered. And there's a lovely final scene, which is a kind of... I won't spoil it for you, but it's a wonderful, almost like an Easter egg to the end of the story, which the fans of the Third Doctor will absolutely love. So those are my recommendations: the Third Doctor Adventures Volume 8 and the Diary of River Song Volume 9, New Recruit. And they're both available now from Big Finish, and they are excellent.
Excellent. So I thought now we might just move away for a moment to a different universe. Still very much in the sci-fi wheelhouse. Recently, a new Star Trek project has started airing, and this is called Star Trek Prodigy. Now, it is made in association with Nickelodeon, so it is squarely for a child audience, but like the best of children's storytelling, I think it works for grown-up trekkers as well. I won't go into the plot specifics too much, but basically it's set on the other side of the Delta Quadrant, where the Federation hasn't made its way out yet, and a group of prisoners manage to stumble across a Federation starship, and they're all forced to work together. They're all very crazy coloured aliens with funny heads and different shapes and sizes, and they're forced to work together, and they are being pursued by a villain called the Diviner. But on the basis of the first episode, it is very promising. It's a CGI animation, but of a high quality. There's lots of guest stars. I've seen some quite big names announced for further down the line in the series. And the big get, of course, is that they have a mentor of hologram of Captain Janeway from Star Trek Voyager. So
yay! We love Janeway.
Yeah. So the first episode was a double bill. It was 45 minutes, and then going forward, they're going to be 20-minute episodes. And if you're a parent who's trying to educate their child the correct way in the ways of Star Trek, I'd heartily recommend it, and you'll probably enjoy it as well. Yeah,
well, I watched it and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, not really aimed at my age group, I have to say. I'm not sure I'll tune in religiously every week, but it was of a very high standard, and I'm sure it will find a following, not just among current trekkers, but a young audience generally who may discover Star Trek through this.
Yeah, I mean, this seems to be the way that a lot of franchises are going, and a smart move is sort of approaching it from all ages. It's like Doctor Who would have the Sarah Jane Adventures, and there was
Class.
Star Wars Rebels, and any number of different Star Wars projects. So it's in that kind of wheelhouse where it can be enjoyed on two different levels. So Star Trek Prodigy episode 1 is heartily recommended by me.
Oh, there we go. The cloister bell. That means we're in terrible danger. And it means that we'll have to pilot our TARDISes and come back next week, basically, when we've seen episode 2 of Flux, which is War of the Sontarans. So I hope everybody out there is in. Hey, you've got which Sontaran is that, dear? Come on, let's have a proper look. Come on.
Oh, it's the one from the two. One of the ones from the two Doctors. The taller one.
Right. Okay. So that was the tall Sontaran batch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the Sontarans are clones, which is why in the two Doctors they've got one that's taller, one that's short.
They didn't seem to get the thing about clones being the same, did they? Really? They must. No. Somebody must have got the video of the Time Warrior out and said, "Oh, they're all right, but we can make them taller, and make them different."
Yeah. JNT, make them both look distinctive.
Yes. Anyway, we're going to crash. See you next week, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we will be back with our opinions on Flux and any other Doctor Who and sci-fi stuff that we want to talk about. So thanks for watching. See you next time.